Welcome to another episode of The Freaking Weekend. I'm your host, Jackie Lucas, and Jeff is here. He's got his stash rocking today.
Just hanging around. That's right. hanging from the handlebars. Not quite yet. You know what? I have plans for it in October for Halloween.
Oh.
I was going to bring it back in September, and I was just like, you know what? It was so hot this week. I was like, I need to shave off, but let me give it the trial run.
Wait, okay. I know we have a guest and you're going to intro them, but so now for your baby's birth and now your baby's first birthday, you're going to have the stash for both those pictures?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. All right.
I have a lot of stuff coming up in September and October. So I did have to think about that. It's like, just so you know, Jeff, every picture from every one of these events is now going to feature this stash. So you have to be okay with that.
Yeah. That's really funny.
And of course the wife has to be okay with it, but she okayed it. She was the first person to sign off on it. So I said, all right, as long as that's
Lana, she's a saint.
I think it looks better this time around. Last year was definitely like, I think it was too
No,
long.
you had the Monopoly ish thing going, and it was, yeah.
That was fun only because it was cool to play around. But and then when I didn't, it hung down here like I was like Freddie Mercury, which everyone made the joke the other day. So I definitely trimmed it up a little bit. Now I'm going for the Miles Tell. Did you see Chop Gun, Jackie?
Chop Gun or Top Gun?
Sorry if I said it weird. Chop Gun sounds like something on Food Network.
We wanted to go see Chop, aka Top Gun, but we didn't get a chance to. I heard it was awesome, though.
It was really cool. Highly recommended. It was our first time back in the theaters. We haven't been back to see a movie since COVID as a family. Lana and I, anyway. But we went. Luca was in school. It was a staycation, and we had not front row tickets because it's too close. We were like 2 or 3 rows back. The sound in this theater was incredible. It was a great experience, and I think maybe that's because I forgot what it was like to see a movie in a movie theater.
All right, so
streaming these days.
Let's talk about that the next podcast because we've been to the movies too a couple of times. But I know that.
All right, go watch it. No spoilers. No.
So we have a special guest today that Jeff's going to bring in and introduce in a moment. And, it's going to be a little bit now, I guess the rest of the podcast is going to be more serious, but an important conversation that we continue to have every year and that we never forget. So Jeff, take it away.
Yeah, I wanted to, this person's friend works with my wife. They're both really good graphic designers. He helped design some of the stuff for this event. And when I heard about it and she pitched it, she was like, you should bring him on your podcast. I heard about the event and what he's doing. I said, absolutely, not a question. We got to bring him on. And it's kind of coincidental because we tried earlier in the summer. He was still kind of tweaking things. And now we're like almost a month away. We are a month away. We're filming this on August 11th. We're a month away from the I can't believe I'm even saying this out loud, but the 22nd, 21st anniversary of 9/11. And I cannot believe that has been like, a 21-year-old, someone who was born on that day is now 21 years old this year. It just like blows my mind. But anyway, we're going to bring him in now. His name is Eitan Blatt, and let's bring him into the show right now. Eitan, let's turn that camera on for everyone watching on YouTube here, my friend. There he is.
Hi, Eitan.
How are you, sir?
Hey, good. How are you guys?
Thanks for joining us. We were I know you were in the waiting room and you didn't really hear what we were saying, but we were just saying how we can't believe that we're coming up on the 21st anniversary of 9/11.
Yeah, someone who was born on that day, that fateful day, could go out to a bar this year. That's how long it's been. It just blows my mind. What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's a long time. It makes me feel old. But I was a freshman in college. I was living in Boston. I remember that day. My girlfriend at the time lived in Bayside, and she had called me right before 9, and she was still in high school. She was a senior, and she said, babe, a plane just hit the World Trade Center. I woke up, me and my roommate were just glued to the TV. They had shut Boston down. And yeah, everything unfolded after that. The city shut down. I had tons of friends here in Long Beach. My parents had the house here and everything. So it was a scary time, and definitely is crazy to think that it's 21 years.
So I know that you're a firefighter, right? You're FDNY.
Yeah.
Did that event kind of
Inspire you to
is that why you decided to join, or is it you have a long family history of
No,
firefighters?
no. I'm the first in my family. I was in school in college in Boston for audio production. So I was doing like music engineering, music theory, and
That's what I was going to ask you, because you're from here, right?
I'm from Hartford, Connecticut originally.
Okay.
I had a summer house here growing up. It's a long story. The house I'm living in now in Long Beach was my grandfather's, my father's. I bought it from him, but I spent a lot of time here in the summers. And then in high school, I got my driver's license, yada, yada. I was always down here. My girlfriends were always down here for some reason. And
those New York girls.
the New York girls. But so after going to school in Boston, I got a job at Soundtrack Studios in New York on 23rd Street and Broadway, which is ironically a few blocks away from my first firehouse, which is kind of cool. But that didn't work out. I did that for like 2 years and things got slow. I was doing Sex and the City audio when they got syndicated to cable. So I had to take out all the curse words and put the dub words in, whatever. And it got slow. I was lowest on the totem pole. They let me go, and it was back to square one. And I started looking for jobs in the city. And it was like, all right, you can start taking the trash out, and back to square one. And I was like, this isn't working. Anyway, got into other stuff, fitness and what have you, and just living in the Long Beach community. Met my wife now at New York Sports Club in Long Beach. But I decided to do the EMT thing in 2006, 2007. Her brothers are both Long Beach firemen, and a bunch of our friends were firemen from around here. And I just was so about the lifestyle. And the thing that really got me was one of my good friends, Valerie Lund. Her father, Pete Lund, actually passed away. He was a very, very decorated FDNY fireman. And he passed away actually volunteering in Woodmere or Hewlett. And we went to his funeral, and it moved me and blew me away. Just the camaraderie and the men and the uniforms. And I just said, I think I want to do this. And I became an EMT, and then just followed the route of doing EMS to becoming a fireman, which is pretty common these days.
Right. I remember I actually took the test, and before, because it was a couple of years out of college, and it was hard to get a job in the weather field. So I was like, looking at things to do, and I was into public service. So I took the NYPD test, took the FDNY test, and I kind of one of my good friend Neil from where I grew up in Lyndhurst on the South Shore. His dad was a chief in one of the battalions in Brooklyn, and he took me in. We got to see the firehouse. And I remember seeing this and being like, just the whole family atmosphere of your house. And I was like, I could definitely see myself doing this if weather doesn't work out. It did. Right. So a little bit of a different path, but I always had a deep found respect for firefighters. I mean, 9/11 notwithstanding even, but I mean, even more so than the selflessness and, what some people, I mean, you heard that story of Steve Buscemi, who did some FDNY stuff before he got into acting, and he didn't tell anybody. And then he was just down there, ground zero, going through the rubble, looking for survivors, looking through the ashes. Right. And it's just like, but that's what I feel like you don't get into the FDNY if you don't have like that X factor about you. So yeah, I always had a deep respect for firefighters. And,
fast forward now, like how many years have you been in FDNY? Eitan?
I've been in since 2008, but I was an EMT first. I worked for the EMS side.
So at least more than 15 probably
involved.
Yeah, I have
15 years if you want to call it that. They call it mystery time. But I've been a firefighter for a little over 9 years. So total with the city, it's been 15 about. So
that's
and what's your house? You said you was near 23rd and 8th, I believe.
Yes, I worked at Engine 14 as a probie. That's where I got my start, which is on 18th and Broadway. So Paragon Sports, everyone knows Paragon. It's on Broadway, right around the corner. 5th Avenue, there's that big H&M there. You turn there. It's 5th to Broadway on 18th Street. And the recording studio is right up on 23rd and Broadway. So it's just kind of, I was like, wow, this is where I'm getting assigned. I used to work here.
You're going to say you show up day one and be like, this looks familiar.
Yeah. So cool. I went to the city out of probie school. Just I don't know, something in me. I just kind of wanted to go to Manhattan. Everyone thought I was crazy, but I wanted to run around and be busy and see the lights and whatever. So
That's awesome.
So you're here today to talk about the 343 Foundation, and I want you to just kind of start from square one. Tell us how this came to be. What was the inspiration to do all this, and tell us, of course, what it's about for everybody here. I know what it's about. Jackie knows what it's about, but in your own words, I just want to hear it.
All right. Well, it's the 34.3 Foundation. It's people think it's 343, which is easily confused because when you build a website, you can't do 34.3 Foundation because there's a point in there and .coms and all that. But it is
weird IP address.
Right. So the foundation is 34.3, and that represents the 34.3 miles that we run from Long Beach to Ground Zero. And I came up with the idea last year on the 20th anniversary. And ever since 9/11, I mean, besides being a fireman and EMS before that, every 9/11, I always remind myself of what happened, where I was. And now that I'm a fireman, especially, I make it a point to not embrace, that's kind of the wrong word, but not forget, right? So, you know, the History Channel and National Geographic, all these channels, they always replay the same stuff around 9/11. And a lot of people turn it off who are sensitive to it, and that's understandable. But I don't, because I want to be reminded, and I want it to hurt, and I want to feel what I felt. And now being a fireman for 9 years and having friends that were there, and friends that had lost family members, and guys that I worked with that lost their fathers, it was just very important to me to never forget. And me and my wife do the same thing. You know, obviously on 9/11, there's a rule in the fire department where you are either at a memorial on Riverside Drive, which is our FDNY memorial, or at Ground Zero, or you're at your firehouse. If you lost a lot of members, you're at your firehouse, you're paying respects, you're with the family. Some houses do a mass, or you're working. You're actually in the firehouse working. So when I came up with the idea last year, it was the 20th anniversary, and I was just feeling moved and upset. And I just said, I want to do something different. I want to do something big. And I'm a running enthusiast, and my body allows me to do certain things if I'm capable of it. And I said, why don't I run to the Trade Center? And I said, well, 3.43, that's not enough. I said 34, I could make it 34.3. I could do that. It's got to be about the same distance from here. And so I started looking on my phone and mapping it out. And over the Manhattan Bridge, you were at a marathon. It was like 26 miles. And I said, why don't I run north to my old battalion, stop at firehouses that lost members, and I'll make it 34.3 and end up at the Trade Center. And she said, that's a crazy idea. It's a great idea, but it's crazy. I said, I'm doing it.
That's awesome. Talk about though the significance of that number, because it's 34.3, but you picked 343 because 343 FDNY.
So yeah, 34.3 represents the 343 members that we lost that day. So obviously I'm not going to run 343 miles. Some guys do walk 500, 3,403 miles. So I just put the point in there. And it just sounded right to represent the 343 with a 34.3 mile run. And the whole idea was I was going to carry the thin red line flag. This is my buddy Jeff Pelcher actually built this, great craftsman. But the thin red line represents, down firemen. And I said, I'm going to carry a full flag on my shoulder. My wife, Trish, thought I was nuts. I said, no, I'm going to do it. Whether it takes me all day, I'm going to have the flag. I'm going to wear my FDNY marathon jersey. And whoever sees me, it is what it is. And she said, how are you going to get home? I said, I have no idea. I haven't thought that far. I'll get there and I'll figure it out. So that was that. And I think like a week out, I started telling some of the neighbors and friends on the beach. And they said, like, have you contacted any News 12 or Channel 4 or anything? I said, no. And they said, you're being stupid. Why don't you do this? People should be raising money. I said, no. I'm just going for a run. This is for the men. And this is what I want to do. If people take pictures, whatever. And that leads me to Ryan Mack, who came with us last year, but I could get to that in a minute. But so I got to that point and I decided to go for the run and have the flag. And next thing I know, people showed up on the boardwalk that morning. Long Beach High School track team was there. My family was there. Trisha's family was there, and they sent me off, and a few people began running with me, including the Long Beach track team. They ran about 3 miles through the West End with me. I let their captain hold the flag, which was like, I gave her the honor, I called it. And a guy, Rob Belair's and Basil Donato, picked me up on the boardwalk, and they began running with me. And Basil's a whole nother story. We can get to that in a little bit. But yeah, sorry, going on a tangent, but yeah.
No, you're not going to. That's why we have you on here, is because we want you to talk about this. And, I know you said you're a running enthusiast, but a marathon is 26.2 miles, if I'm not mistaken. And you're running 34.3. So how do you
a marathon and a half?
Yeah. How do you mentally prepare yourself or physically prepare yourself for something like that? Because it can't be easy.
No, I mean, nothing's really easy, but you put your mind to it, and you just do it. That was part of like creating. So I created a flyer like 4 days before that run, when my friends started breaking my chops about not telling anybody. So I put a flyer on like Instagram. I don't have a huge following, and that gave me like stress, like pressure. All right, now it's real. Now I have to do it, because now it's on Instagram. It's legit, that's the world we live in. So, but that's healthy stress, because when you create that stress for yourself, it makes you get out the door and not be lazy. So you can have stress that bogs you down and breaks you down, but you can also have stress that's healthy for you and gets you out the door. And I had already been training for the marathon and whatever anyway. So I knew I could run 26.2. That wasn't the problem. It was just, I'm going to have to struggle through the last, 8 miles. And
how many marathons have you run?
4.
Okay.
So
yeah, you have experience doing it.
So yeah. this
and the marathon sucks every year. The marathon is amazing. It's the best day of the year. New York is one giant block party. It's the hardest marathon out there. Don't let anybody else tell you differently. People run Chicago. It's flat. It's fast. Stop it. New York is the hardest marathon, and we all know it. But it sucks. Like when you get to the Central Park and you think you're done, and then it goes back out to Fifth Avenue, and then you're in Columbus Circle.
I've done the bike tour, which, if I'm not mistaken, is almost reverse route with some minor differences. But I can tell you that is tough. That is tough, especially with some elevations and stuff, and dips and dodges. And
that's why New York is hard. There's a lot of hills and a lot of bridges. And but yeah, so I knew I had the mileage, and it was just, I knew I was going to suffer, and that was the point. So
yeah, I want to talk about that. So
I wasn't just going for a jog on 9/11. This was the point, that it was 34.3 miles, and Eitan's going to run 34.3 miles for the 343. Right. It's not like I'm not running 3.43 miles. That's the point. I am going to suffer, and I want to make that a point, because the men on that day suffered. Whether, I mean, we all know the men that rushed into that building, put their lives that they built with their families and everything aside, even just heading there. So, and some of the units from Brooklyn coming over the bridge, looking at those skyscrapers burning, knowing that they had to go up 80 floors with no elevators to 30 floors of a raging jet fuel inferno. That's heavy. So me suffering, for 15 miles, 12 miles, whatever, when it really starts to hurt is nothing. And that's the point, is that I'm suffering that day to remember. And that's the idea, is that when I'm running, I'm not forgetting. It's nothing compared to what those guys went through. And I have FDNY across my chest and a flag over my shoulder to represent that. And to me, it's just running. But it's the way I'm not going to forget. And if people are inspired by it and want to join and donate, and that's the whole point, especially as we head into the next 20 years, because the awareness isn't there anymore. And that's what I experienced last year, but that's another story.
Yeah.
It's so many people now. I almost feel like there's almost a majority of people I speak to that were like not born yet. It's wild. They were like, yeah, I learned about it in a textbook. I was like, what? Like, wow. But again,
right.
it's going to happen.
When you were running, past your firehouse and some of the other firehouses, and then eventually to ground zero, take me through that emotion. Was that super? I can't even imagine what kind of emotions you were feeling that day.
The emotions were awesome. Last year, like I said, Long Beach, I was met with a group of people, which I thought I was going to be alone. So I got to go back and say my friend Ryan Mack, who's a professional photographer from New Jersey, called me the day before. I was working in the firehouse. Actually, I worked September 10th, the day tour. And he called me and he said, "Hey, I'm driving up. I want to come. I want to shoot photos and video." And I was like, "Oh my God. Yes, please. Yes. That would be amazing. Like if I'm going to turn this thing into something, like I need a photo guy. I need a video guy."
Definitely.
So he showed up in the morning, which was huge. And the whole thing I've built in the last year is based upon his photos and his videos. So I did a video highlight of last year that went kind of viral on September 12th. And he took photos that are now on the website, and it's I can't thank him enough. So he showed up and he got to my house and he had this big camera bag and one small camera. So I said, "Do you have room in there for like salts, goos, an extra pair of shoes, like Aquaphor for chafing?" He's like, "Yeah, dude, just put it all in my bag." So he was like my what do they call them? Sherpas. He was like my Sherpa up the mountain, which was a game changer. So he was with me. And then, like I said, Basil Donato and Rob came with us to the Atlantic Beach Bridge, and he was moved. He wasn't a big runner, and he did it. He got to the bridge, and now he's running even more. So, and we talk frequently. And Basil is a whole another story that touches me really in the heart. So Basil is a Long Beach guy, and he back in 2008 was in a really bad motorcycle accident on Beach 96th Street and Beach Channel Drive in Rockaway. And I was working EMS that day. And I was responding at the time to an EDP, which is a low level emotionally disturbed person. It's mainly a cop issue. It's a low level EMS run. And we diverted to a critical motor vehicle struck, a person struck, a ped struck, a motorcyclist struck. We were right around the corner. So we turned the ambulance around, got on scene, and there was this guy laid out. And he was in really, really bad shape. He had tracheal deviation. So his throat was to the side, which means you have air in your chest cavity and it's putting pressure on your lungs because your lung collapsed. His lung collapsed and it put pressure on his lung. So I called for backup. I called for paramedics, and a paramedic arrived. Keith Ahrens did needle decompression. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Three Kings with Mark Wahlberg. They're in Iraq. One guy gets shot in the chest. There's this whole really cool graphic where the bullet goes in and it hits the lung and air is released into the cavity and it pushes pressure on his lung and then you can't breathe. It's a really cool graphic, but this is exactly what was happening to Basil. So Keith actually did needle decompression in the street. We loaded him up. I drove him to Jamaica Hospital. Keith was in the back with my partner, Joe Vasquez Aldana, who's also a fireman now. And we got him to Jamaica. They rushed him right into surgery, and I don't know what happened after that because I left, but we saved him. And I had his cell phone and I needed pedigree. I needed information. And I just took the phone, and this was before these things. It was a flip phone. And back in the day, if you remember, last call, you wanted, like, you just hit talk. Remember, you would just hit talk and it would call the last person that you were in contact with. And I remember the call went through and it said 516-432 ba 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 ba. And if you're from Long Beach, you know 432. Long Beach is 432-431-889. All my Long Beach people know that. So I saw 432 and I was like, oh my God, this guy's from Long Beach. And a kid answered the phone, Liam. And I'm like, hey, whose phone is this? He goes, what? And I'm like, this is Fdny EMT Blatt. Whose phone is this? This person was in a very bad accident. I need to know who he is. And he said, Basil Donato. And I started putting the connections together. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's from my hometown. And anyway, we met up months later, thanked me, whatever, doing my job. And now he shows up at the run, 34.3. I saw him a week before the run. I was walking the dog in the West End. How you doing? Whatever. Oh, dude, yeah, I'm doing this big run on 9/11. And I'm doing 34 miles, like whatever. He's like, oh, that's cool. Maybe I'll come out. I've been training for the marathon. I'm like, yeah, cool, dude. He shows up on the boardwalk, ends up running to the Atlantic Beach Bridge with me. And he whispers over, not whispers, but he just kind of, we're running side by side. And he says, dude, would it be crazy if I came the whole way with you? And I turned to him, I said, dude, it's crazy what I'm doing. Like, I hope I finish, but like, yeah, let's do it together. And he said, okay. I was like, okay. So he ran with me as far as he could. We get to Marine Park and he's like, all right, I trained for the New York City Marathon. I got hurt and never finished. And I said, okay, you're running a marathon today. You might not do 34.3, but you're running a marathon today. And he made it all the way through Prospect Park and Botanical Gardens, whatever that is over there. Mm. And I looked at my watch and I said, dude, Long Island Railroad is at Flatbush and Atlantic or whatever. And I was like, we're going to be there at 26.2 miles. If my mother or God is not watching us right now, whatever, like, this is crazy. So if you don't want to come 34.3 and you don't know how you're going to get home and you have a credit card on you, the Long Island Railroad's right there. And he said, I'm done. And he ran a marathon with me.
That's awesome. Wild. Did you have anybody, I don't know how much headway the Instagram post got, but did you have anybody else along the route that just like joined in with you? And whether or not you did?
Not really.
No. Okay. Are you expecting that this year? Now that people know about this?
Yeah. So I'm just like encouraging people to, because people see the 34.3 and they're like, no way, no, I can't do that. But like, so they're like, I'll donate. But I'm encouraging, just like last year, you show up on the boardwalk, you come as far as you can with us. You really do your part.
We're going to get to the whole donation and you tell us how, but I think it would be really cool if people, like back in the day, we used to do like charity walks around the track and, we'll go quarter of a mile, and they'd sponsor per like, eighth of a mile or something. That would be really cool if we could get people, maybe not this year, maybe in 5 years, maybe, hopefully this continues for a long time coming, but
I hope so.
People to sponsor, to do that run with you. So you're not doing it alone at all. You're always got someone, with you at all times. I think that'd be really cool. But why don't you take this opportunity to let people know how they can donate to this cause?
So I set up a website. It's 343foundation.com. No point. And right on the homepage, there's a big button and it says donate now. You could pay with PayPal, credit card, Apple Pay, and it goes into the 34.3 Foundation Fund, which I plan to hold money for fallen firefighters, firehouses, and families. So this year was a pretty heavy year for the FDNY. We lost a few guys, and the two of them hit home pretty close to me. So one of my good friends and member from my own truck company in the big house, Jesse Gerhard, passed in February. Excuse me. And I had already done, obviously, the run for 9/11, and the hype passed. And then I was done. I was procrastinating. I hadn't built a website or anything yet. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do something next year. It'll be bigger and better, but it's February. So now Jesse dies in the line of duty. Super tragic. And we went through a lot as a firehouse. And for me, as like we call middle of the road, right? You have 8, 9, 10, 12 years, middle of the road guy. So you're not a probie where you're in the sink and everything's expected of you, but you bridge the gap between the probies and the senior guys, and there's still a lot of stuff expected from you. So some of the senior guys kind of put it in the middle of the road guys' hands as far as taking care of a lot of the firehouse stuff when someone dies in the firehouse. This is a huge learning experience, and I think that's why the senior men put it on some of the middle of the road guys. It's God forbid it happens later again, knock on wood. But so Jesse passes, and immediately ceremonial comes in, and the brotherhood kind of takes care of itself in the FDNY. So the last guys who dealt with this were Lieutenant Milo from Staten Island. So he passed a couple weeks before Jesse, and they came over with a binder. And it's like a brotherhood within the brotherhood that I hadn't known about. And they guided us through the next step of like the next week, what we were going to have to do, what we were financially responsible for, taking care of the family, decals on the rig. It was overwhelming. And you know, you start getting donations from other firehouses, and you know, obviously the neighborhood comes out, flowers are delivered, and um at that time I'm saying, wow, I'm blowing it right now. Like, why don't I have this set up? Not that I would have come through with $100,000 for Jesse's family, whatever it is. Even if I make $5,000 this year, we'll see if I make that. You know, if I make 30, that's be amazing. I might make $1,500 this year, but I'll have something. God forbid this happens again, to send over to the next house. Just so the union obviously backs you, and the job backs you with the funeral and stuff. But there are a lot of expenses, and obviously the expenses on the family going forward with mortgages and car payments and stuff like that once you're not around. So just to be able to have that fund set up and be able to step in, God forbid this happens again. And it's not just line of duty. We're still losing guys to cancer from that day. So going forward, if I could step in any way with a little bit of financial help, or we have a family transport system in the fire department. When Jesse died, we have SUVs that transport the family back and forth in vans, and all those SUVs are donated by different foundations like the Fahey Foundation and Tunnels for Towers, obviously all kinds of foundations. So when Timmy Klein died, like a month after Jesse, the big house, were responsible for passing it on to Canarsie 257 ladder 170. So we went over there, and again, like, we take care of each other, and we guided them. Unfortunately, they had just been through this a few years ago with Stephen Pollard, who passed away on the Belt Parkway in 2019, 2018, 17.
Wow. I remember that. I remember that.
And he was Timmy's, like, one of Timmy's best friends. So it was just overwhelming, a few months. And again, when Timmy died, I said, you still haven't done anything. What are you doing? Like, you have this potential to create this foundation, and you're just doing nothing. So we have a saying in the fire department that you write your own eulogy every day on this job, whether it's coming in and doing the right thing every day, doing the dishes, doing the sheets, cleaning the tools, drilling, getting in the books, going over stuff with the younger guys. That's the guy you want to be. And God forbid you die, people remember you for what you did on this job, not for just sitting around. And when Jesse died, he was a go-getter. He was always building stuff. He was always fixing stuff. When he passed and his family came to the firehouse, we showed them all around the firehouse, like all the stuff he had built, all the modifications he made to the rig. He wrote his own eulogy, and now we're missing him terribly. So when Timmy died, it was the same thing. Timmy was building wheelchair ramps in his own foundation with his own firehouse. And it was another big hit to the fire department. And it goes back to the same saying, what do you do? You know, what that do you do? You know? So I said, yeah, dude, what are you doing? There's so much more you could be doing for the fire department and the families and the firehouse and the fire department that you're capable of, and you're not. So that really got me going to step it up with the foundation.
Well, you're doing amazing work, and you know, you're gonna really make a difference throughout the years, because now you're holding yourself accountable to keep doing this year after year after year after year.
Right. Healthy stress.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm sure, I know you said, I'm not sure what it's gonna, what people are gonna contribute this year, but again, it's only the second year, and I think it's got a lot of room to grow and so much potential, and you know what you need to do to get it to what you want to be, and I think it's going to get there. And I'm really looking forward to see the growth that it comes in the coming years. And I would love to get involved. I'm sure Jackie in some way too. Maybe not running. I don't know. Maybe your kids. The kids have enough energy.
Do like the 0.3. I'll be just
that's it. Right. Perfect. That's all you got to do.
I have to ask you real quick. How long did it take you in full?
I don't even remember. I could look it up on Strava, but so in the video that's on the 34.3 Foundation Instagram, I did lower thirds titles, and it's embarrassing. I don't want to say no. I got there at like 4:40. So I left at 8:46, which goes back to the timing of the run, which I'll get to. But it took all day. But I'm not running because I pay my respects at numerous houses on the way.
Yeah, right,
Excuse me.
Right.
we
Yeah.
stopped. Basil was with me, Ryan was with me, and it was actually pretty warm last year on 9/11 and sunny. So we stopped at 7-Eleven and like across from like King's Plaza on Flatbush. And I got the guys water, Gatorades, and we just threw it in Ryan's bag. I changed my shoes. I was wearing Saucony Endorphin Pros, which are like racing shoes with a carbon plate,
Right.
and they just were not working out. And I was like, in the back of my head, I'm like, let me just bring these Kinvars, which are just like flat, slow, long run distance shoes. And I switched them. I was like, oh my God, it feels like $1 million. But then when we get into the city, so I used to work in Battalion 6, 14 engine. I spent some time at Ladder 3 for a while when I had like a year on, and I spent about almost a year over there with those guys. So those guys lost 2 tours of members. So I pay my respects there, 33 and 9. And we go past 14, and then we stop at 24 and 5 on 6th Ave in Houston, and then work our way to the West Side Highway. So each one of those stops is a couple minutes, just like pay the respects if any of the guys are there, take a photo, whatever, and keep it moving. But Ladder 3 just like has a special place in my heart. Those guys taught me how to be a truckie. I was with those guys when the 9/11 museum was getting open, and they had to bring the rig into the museum and lower it on a crane, and we had to deliver a sign. We call it a sign on the stick on the aerial ladder. So I know all the stories they told me there about guys commandeering a cab, and 9/11 happened at tour change, right? So we changed tours from 8 to 9 a.m. Guys are coming, guys are going, and I don't want to say like the terrorists knew that, but geez, it's the guys that were there for the day were in at 8 a.m. They had their stuff on the rig. It happened, and they went down. And then the guys that were going home were either showering, reading the paper, having a bagel on their way out the door, and they said, "We're going too." And they got in a cab. I don't know how perfect this story sounds. They commandeered a cab and drove down there with their gear, and they all perished with Captain Patty Brown. And their last transmission going up the stairs was, "This is 3 truck. We're still heading up." So,
it gives you chills.
Yeah,
it really does.
So I make sure to stop there, and I'm always thankful for those guys. And obviously Engine 14, I was a probie there. Those guys groomed me to be a fireman. I stopped there, and then I work around to 24 and 5, which has a long history also. And I have a few friends there, and that's it. And then we work our way back downtown on the West Side Highway and back up the Battery, and then we're there.
Wow. That's something else. By the way, we talked about it before, people possibly joining you or the more people joining this year. You can go on the 34.3 Foundation website. Again, it's 343foundation.com, and you click on that Get Involved at the top screen, and it does have places along the route, kind of checkpoints or cheer points, so that you can either watch you go by or you can join in, and it's pretty cool. I'm tempted, man. I'm tempted. I don't know if it's a work. I didn't even check to see if it was a work day this year, but I work in Manhattan, so I would love to come down.
It's a Sunday.
Oh, there you go.
Should be good. Last year was a Saturday.
That's right.
So last year was great. We had a lot of support in Long Beach. Obviously, Long Beach Volunteer Fire Department. Thank those guys. They showed up. I didn't think anyone was going to show up. They showed up. They gave us an escort. Excuse me, on the street, and they followed us down. So we went on Ocean View, which obviously you don't need an escort, and then Beach Street. They brought the rigs out, and they followed us all the way through Atlantic Beach and basically carried us to the Atlantic Beach Bridge. And then Rockaway, obviously, same environment, lots of support, lots of go get 'em. And then Flatbush was incredible. In Brooklyn, it was just so diverse, like running up Flatbush and all the different neighborhoods. And then it became like gridlock. It was a beautiful Saturday. All the vendors are out. Traffic is bumper to bumper, and all different cultures were out. Yeah, brother, FDNY, never forget, and then you keep it moving, and it's Latino music, and everyone's honking their horn, and it felt amazing. And then we went over the Manhattan Bridge, and I got into Manhattan, and it was just tons of people out. It was a gorgeous day. And now it's just me. Basil had left at Atlantic Terminal. So it's me and Ryan. He's taking photos. And now I'm struggling. You know, it's 30 miles at this point. And I ran to ladder 3 and I went up through Union Square, which was packed. And it was almost like I was just kind of like in people's way. They were busy. They had things going on. And I was like, okay, like whatever. Like, I'm not trying to be like, hey, where are my cheers, man? Like, it was just different, a lot different. And then I came down Fifth Avenue, Washington Square Park, went through the Arc. Washington Square Park was packed. And it just got weird. Like, I got like dirty looks and people, it almost felt like I was in the way. Like, watch that flag. Like, what are you doing? And it was just quiet. And the West Side Highway, like, no cheers. People kind of just looked at me like, what is he doing? It's like, what do you mean? What am I doing? I have FDNY on my chest. I have a thin red line flag on my shoulder.
You know what day it is?
September 11th.
You know, do you know what day it is?
The World Trade Center was right there, right there. I'm looking at the new Freedom Tower, and it says on the website in our story that it's kind of not embarrassing to say, but I stopped, and the West Side Highway, the running path has that railing right on the river, and I just kind of took a blow, and I stopped my watch because you always have to stop your Garmin runners, and I just kind of like broke down, like not like bawling, and I just kind of like was second guessing myself, and it was a blow, because here I am where I want to be. I've made it. I'm like a mile away, and no one cares, and that's what really, really made me say next year, bigger and better, more firemen, more flags.
Yeah.
And we're going to come through Manhattan and represent what that day was and what it means to all of us. So
that was really my final question.
Awesome.
Was on when you're getting to that point, you kind of said it, but second guessing, like, I don't know, man, can I push through? Can I do this? Or was there really never a doubt in your mind that even when it, got to that point, you were like, you know what, not even a doubt, I'm going to finish this? Obviously you'd love to have the people cheering you and getting you through that last leg, but
I think it's also, I'm spoiled because I run the New York City Marathon and everybody's crazy. It's like a block party the whole way, but no, it wasn't a doubt in me. I wasn't doubting myself as far as finishing, not in the slightest. I was there. I was a mile away. I'd come all that way.
Right.
What I was doubting was what I was doing. What I have a flag on my chest. I'm wearing my FDNY marathon jersey, like representing my job, the department, and the 343 and the 11,000 firemen. Right. And here I am. And it's like the hype of Flatbush, Brooklyn, and Rockaway and Long Beach and everything was wearing off. And here I am at the foot of ground zero where you'd think a lot of people would be who care. And these are the people that live there now and live in the high rises in Battery City Park or whatever. And it was just quiet and no one cared. I was just another schmo running, I guess. And that's what made me doubt myself. Not my ability in running, but my ability in what I was trying to do as far as, can this be a 34.3 foundation? Is this worth it?
Well, I gather
if
some of those people knew where you were coming from and how far you'd come, they'd kind of they'd go quickly to being like, oh my gosh, in awe. And listen, we thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing this all. We're going to do our part to push this word out there more. So
thank you. Yeah.
I was going to say that unfortunately we need to wrap this up.
Yeah.
But tell everybody how we can follow. Do you have Instagram, Facebook, and all that? Because I know you talked about the website, but just briefly tell us social.
The Instagram is 34.3 Foundation, at 34.3 Foundation. Facebook is 34.3 Foundation. And the website is 343foundation.com.
Perfect. Eitan, thank you so much. We're going to be cheering you on.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me. I really, really appreciate it and give me the time and the platform.
Of course. Absolutely. And we're going to have we're going to put as much literature in the bios for when you click on the links here. So you don't have to remember this all by memory, but we'll have that up there. And you can always reach out to us at thefreakinweekendpodcast@gmail.com for any information that you may have missed. Eitan, thank you so much. Best of luck to you this year, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week on The Freaking Weekend. Take care.